Hello everyone, a very good morning to all. So this is the second video on our last unit, that is non-aqueous solvents. So in the last video we discussed about the physical properties of different non-aqueous solvents, and in this video we'll be discussing about types of solvents, types of non-aqueous solvents, and based upon what categories they can be divided. So let's get started. Based upon the chemical properties, non-aqueous solvents are divided into four categories. So they can be protonic or non-protonic solvents. These can be acidic, basic, or amphoteric solvents, ionizing and non-ionizing. And the last one is coordinating and non-coordinating solvents. Any one solvent, say we have ammonia, it can fall into the three categories also. Say it is protonic solvent, and it comes under the acid basic category also. It can also come under the ionizing, non-ionizing also. So it is not the case that if one solvent is belonging to one of the categories, it cannot belong to other categories, because one solvent can be protonic also, it can be acid base also, it can be ionizing also, and it can be coordinating also. So based upon these categories have been made based upon for the comparison of different types of solvents for different properties. So these are the properties of different solvents. So each solvent, any one of the solvent can have all the properties, any one of the solvent can have only one property. So it is based upon the type of solvent. So let's get started. First category is the protonic and non-protonic solvents. So by protonic or non-protonic, protonic solvents are also called as protic solvent, and non-protonic solvents are called as aprotic solvents. So what protonic solvents are? From which so protonic solvents are those from which ionizable hydrogens can be derived. So from where we can derive H positive, or we can say H positive donors, the compounds, the solvents from which H positive can be obtained, those are called as protic or protonic solvents. And from where the ionizable proton cannot be derived, or which do not contain any H positive to be released, so those solvents are called as non-protonic solvents. So examples of protonic are water, HF, HCN, H2SO4. But in case of non-protonic ones, it is SO2, N2O4, C6H6, C3HCl3. All the organic solvents come under the category of non-protonic solvents. So our next category is acidic, basic, or amphoteric solvents. So based upon the nature of the solvent can be acidic, basic, or amphoteric. Acidic solvents are also called as protogenic. Basic are called as protophilic. Protogenic, by protogenic word we mean that which can generate a proton. By protophilic, which attract a proton. As we all know that bases are those which attract, which according to the Bronsted-Lowry definition for bases, the bases are those which capture a proton. So that is why the name protophilic is given. And amphoteric are also called as amphiprotic, which can also generate and which can also capture a proton. So acidic protogenic solvents are those which have strong tendency to donate a proton. Basic or protophilic are those which have strong tendency to accept protons. Examples for acidic are H2SO4, HF, which can generate a proton. All acidic compounds which are solvents, which can be used as solvents, will behave as acidic solvents, and basic solvents are the pyridine, ammonia, hydrogen. So next are the amphoteric and amphiprotic solvents. So these solvents which neither have strong tendency to gain or lose H positive, or whose acidic or basic character depends upon the species with which they are reacting. So they do not have any strong tendency of either for gaining or for accepting a proton, but they can do both the things based upon the substance with which they are reacting. If they are reacting with a strong base, they will behave as acid, and if they are reacting with strong acid, they will behave as a base. So next category is ionizing and non-ionizing solvents. So ionizing solvents are those which are capable of undergoing self-ionization, as water can self-ionize to give H2O positive or H negative ion. This is the cationic part, this is the anionic part. Ammonia can ionize to give ammonium ion and NH2 negative, HF to give H2F positive and F negative. And non-ionizing solvents are those which do not ionize at all. In example, we can have all the polar solvents, that is benzene, chloroform, which do not ionize at all. So these are the example of ionizing solvents which can ionize to generate cationic part and an anionic part. So next category and the last category is the coordinating and non-coordinating solvents. The solvents which are capable of coordinating with metal ions or anions of the solute are called as coordinating solvents, or we can say which are capable of forming coordination complexes with the anions or the cations. And non-coordinating solvents are those which do not form coordination complexes with any of the cation or the anion of the solute. So based upon the types of solvents, further there are different types of reactions which can be carried out in non-aqueous solvents. There are 5 types of reactions, 5 categories of reactions are there which can be carried out in non-aqueous solvents. First one is metathetical or precipitation reaction. Second one is salt formation reaction. Then we have acid-base reactions. Fourth one is solvolytic or solvolysis reactions. And fifth one are the solvation reactions. So first one which we are going to discuss are the metathetical or precipitation reactions. So the reactions in which precipitation occurs on mixing the two solutions. So whenever there is a precipitation on mixing the two solutions, those reactions are called as precipitation reactions or metathetical reactions. So precipitation can be predicted based upon the value of solubility products. So as the value of solubility products are fixed for different compounds, so whenever the ionic product reaches equal to the solubility product, that solution is called as saturated solution. And when the ionic product exceeds the solubility product, that is the point when precipitation takes place. So the value depends upon the nature of the solvent used for carrying out the reaction. So how it is dependent upon the nature upon the solvent. Say we have these two salts, that is AgNO3 and barium chloride. So they react in water to give AgCl and barium nitrate. So here AgCl precipitate out and barium nitrate remains in solution. So but the reverse is not true in the case of water. But in case of ammonia, the reverse reaction can be carried out, that BaCl2 can be precipitated out and AgNO3 remains in solution. But reverse cannot be true in case of ammonia. So based upon different reactions, we can obtain different products in the precipitates, and we can have different starting material. So we can reverse the reaction by changing the solvent. So this is the importance of these different types of solvents. So such is the case where precipitation is taking place. Here AgCl is getting precipitated and here barium chloride is getting precipitated. So similarly, if we take NaOH in water, it is soluble. It is highly soluble in water. But in case of liquid ammonia, it precipitates out. Also, copper sulfate is highly soluble in water and it precipitates out in anhydrous acetic acid. So this is the way we can choose different solvents based upon the compound which we want to precipitate. So we can design our reaction course based upon our solvents. So next category is the salt formation reactions. The reactions between appropriate acidic or basic substances leading to the formation of salt are called as salt formation reactions. जब भी acid और base के बीच में reaction होगा, there will be a formation of salt. But depending upon the solvent, that particular acid or base will behave as acid or base in that particular solvent. It will depend upon the nature of the solvent. So in such reactions also, the choice of solvent is very important, as in some solvents, the desired acid and bases which are to react cannot react with each other and they react with the solvent in turn, or we can say the solvent interfere in such reactions. Say we have here we have an example. So we have NaOH and we want to react it with urea. So as we all know that urea do not ionize at all in water. It just simply dissolves in water. So here this base is not going to react with urea, and the production of this salt, uridine salt, will not take place in when we take water as solvent. But if we reverse reaction, but the reverse reaction is feasible. If we take this salt and we react it with water, it will give us this corresponding precipitates of urea will obtain and will have these two things will be obtained. We'll have sodium hydroxide and urea in the dissolved form in water. But this reaction, if we take NaOH or we can say a strong base, which is a strong base in ammonia, that is sodamide, we take this and urea. So here urea will behave as an acid and sodamide will behave as a base and will get the formation of this salt which is called as sodium uride. So this is how, based upon the solvent type of or nature of the solvent, different acid-base reactions can be carried out. So next is the acid-base reactions. So such reactions, the last one was the not the acid-base but the salt formation reaction. So next are the acid-base reactions. Such reactions in non-aqueous solvent can be better understood on the basis of solvent system concept, which we just discussed in the chapter 3, which where we discussed about acids and bases, where we discussed about the solvent system concept was given by Kedi Else, where the where the acids were the substances which produces the cation characteristics of the solvent, and bases were the substances which produces the anion characteristics of the solvent. So in such cases, the reaction will depend upon three factors: the acidic or basic nature of the solvent, the character of the solute with respect to solvent, वो acidic होगा या basic होगा, एंड सॉल्यूट सॉल्वेंट इंटरेक्शन, कैसी इंटरेक्शंस होंगी वहां पे सॉल्यूट और सॉल्वेंट के बीच में. सो say we have a protonic solvent, so cation is solvated proton here. In case of protonic solvents, cation is going to be the solvated proton here. So example, ammonia, cation here, cation is this ammonium ion. So if we carry out this reaction here, this is acid, this is base, and we are carrying out this reaction in liquid ammonia. This is ammonium chloride is acid and sodium is a base. So in liquid ammonia, we'll get the formation of NH3 and NaCl. So this is a salt and this is the acid-base reaction. So if solute is CH3COH, now if we take solute as CH3COH, it depends upon the solvent how it is going to behave. So this CH3COOH will behave as a strong acid when we take ammonia as a solvent. It will behave as a weak acid when we take water as a solvent, and it will behave as a strong base when we take H2SO4 as a solvent. So based upon the nature of the solvent, the solute is changing its character. It is behaving as a strong acid, ammonia, sometimes it is behaving as a strong base, and in some solvent is behaving as a weak acid. So this is how these the reactions, we can design the reaction based upon the nature of the solvent, that how if we know that how it is going to behave in that particular solvent, then we can design a reaction based upon our requirement. Next are the solvolytic reactions, or we can call them solvolysis. So the solvent molecules react with solute. In such reactions, the solvent molecules will react with solute and undergo autoionization. So solute molecules will impose autoionization on the solvent molecule, and then one or both the species formed out of the solvent, cationic and the anionic, they get attached to the solute molecules or an ion. Say water has ionized and we have taken this solute SO2Cl2. So when it will react with water, we'll get the formation of SO2OH twice, and here this is the hydronium ion and it is 2Cl negative. So here the concentration of the acid characteristic of the solvent has increased. So in such solutes, either increase the acid characteristic of the solvent or base characteristics of the solvent based upon the part with which it has attached. Here it has attached with the basic part of the solvent, anion characteristic of the solvent. So it has increased the concentration of cation characteristic of the solvent. Similarly, if we have taken here F negative, it will combine with H positive. So it will increase the base characteristic of the solvent. Similarly, these reactions which are carried out in water, these are called as hydrolysis. And when we take ammonia as a solvent, that will be called as ammonolysis. And if we take alcohol as solvent, those will be called as alcoholysis. So based upon the solvent, these are named upon that. So in general, we call them solvolysis reaction, where solvent molecules break based upon the choice of the solute. Next are the solvation reactions. So the reaction in which the molecules of solute get attached to the solute species, these are called as solvation reaction and leads to the formation of solvates. So when we take water as a solvent, the reaction will be hydration and hydrates will be produced. If we take ammonia as a solvent, reaction will be called as ammoniation and we'll get the formation of ammoniates. For if we take alcohol as a solvent, alcoholation will be called as the reaction and alcoholates will be produced. So if we take copper sulfate in ammonia, it will form this complex, that is CuSO4.4NH3. So this is the ammoniate of CuSO4, or we can say copper sulfate has underwent solvation and got converted into this complex in when we took ammonia as a solvent. In water, copper chloride will form this complex. So basis upon the solvation, basis of solvation is actually the ion dipole interactions, or sometimes it can be the coordinate bonds which from the donor solvent, or sometimes it can be the hydrogen bonding. As hydrogen bonding itself is a special case of ion dipole interaction. So solvation is the first, we can call solvation as the first step of solvolytic reactions. Now if we look back on the solvolytic reaction, here what must have happened, that solute molecule has firstly coordinated with the solvent molecules and form a coordinations appear, and then the coordinations appear must have broken and must have given these two species. So we can say, we can call solvation reaction to be the first step for solvolytic reaction, but these two different types of reactions, because in case of solvation reactions, solvent molecules remain in final product. Here complete solvent molecule is there in the final product, but here either the cationic part or the anionic part is there in the final product. So this is the difference between solvolysis and solvation reaction. So that is it for this video. In the next video, we'll be discussing about physical and chemical properties of liquid ammonia. We'll be discussing about various chemical reactions which can take place in liquid ammonia if we take liquid ammonia to solvent. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much. Have a